day, everyone, and welcome to this critical virtual conference brought to you by XFP Production. I am Emmanuella Ekwuazi. Today, we'll be discussing a pressing issue that impacts millions of Nigerians, especially persons with disability. Theme is the Disability Act 2018 inactive because of lack of punitive measure. So this is the topic we'll be talking about today. So as you all know, the Disability Act 2018 was a landmark piece of legislation designed to protect the rights of persons with disability, ensuring that no one is left behind. It's a powerful document, but its impact has been a topic of debates in advocacy circles. That is, we have been having a lot of different debates over this Disability Act in our various communities, especially in the disability community. So, we want to know if the penalties is sufficient to drive compliance. Please excuse me. Kindly mute. If your mic is on, please mute. Thank you. So we want to know, in today's discussion, we want to know if the penalties for this Disability Act, the penalties, if it's sufficient to drive compliance, or if we need a stronger enforcement mechanism. So that's what we'll be unpacking today. So, but before I introduce my panelists who will be joining me today in today's discussion, I want us to first understand the core provision of Section 28. I don't think all of us are very much familiar with it, so I'm going to read it out. The core provision of Section 28 of the Disability Act, so which focuses mainly on employment rights of persons with disability. So the first one is equal access. That is, people with disability have the right to work in a free and open labor market. The second one is freedom of choice. That is, people with disability have the right to choose their own work without discrimination. Please, if you're not clear, you can let me know, you can indicate. If you're not hearing me clearly, you can indicate and I will rephrase it. The third one is employment quotas. That is, public organizations are mandated to reserve at least 5% of their jobs for persons with disability. Then the fourth one, which is non-discrimination, that is, employers must ensure that people with disability are not denied employment opportunities based on their disability. So these penalties for violating Section 28 include, I state, individuals who violate this Section 28 are liable to minimum of 250,000 naira in damages. Companies who violate this Section 28 are liable to minimum of 500,000 naira. Please mute. Are liable to 500,000 naira in damages. Then principal officers of offending companies are also liable for minimum of 50,000 naira in damages. So these are the penalties for violating the Section 28. So in today's discussion, we want to know if this has been fully implemented, or if there's any other thing we need to do, or if there are other enforcement we need to engage in to ensure that this Disability Act is fully in implementation. So to help dissect these issues, I have with me my esteemed panelists of experts and advocates joining us today. I think I've seen Mrs. Uche. Good day, ma'am. Okay, Mrs. Uche Andrew, she's a gender disability inclusion officer. So she's among the panelists who will be joining us in today's discussion. I also have Mrs. Krista Chigbu. Is she here? Is Mrs. Krista with us here? Okay, I think she'll join us later. Okay, we also have the project manager at XFP Production, Mr. Elvis Brown. Can you please unmute your mic so we can just say hi?
Hi, good morning. Hi, good morning. Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. So welcome to the discussion. Mrs. Uche, we'd like to hear your voice.
Hi, good morning. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. It's good to hear from you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, thank you. So you had the section, the Disability Act I read earlier on, and these are major topic for discussion. So, but first, I want to know the 5% employment quota. Are public organizations meeting up with this mandate? Because it seems a lot of persons are not so much familiar with this 5% quota in the Disability Act. So do you know if public organizations are meeting up with this mandate?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. As far as the Disability Act is concerned, and the issue around mainstreaming persons with disability into the wider society, it is yet to be fully implemented. Awareness processes are still going on. Okay. And it's something that we need to do from time to time to ensure that the full implementation of the disability law comes into place. So specifically on your questions around the 5% quota for employment provision for persons with disability, there are still some areas where this provision is yet to be fully implemented. You know that in Nigeria we have a lot of policies, yes, but the problem is when it comes to the full implementation of those policies and laws and programs, and carrying out the implementation, we need to bring in persons with disability in their different clusters to be able to hear their views and understand the best way to ensure that they are being included within the workforce.
Okay, thank you.
Job opportunity to persons with disability, whereas not providing for the needs of those persons with disability to be able to make their impact within the workforce.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Then I have another question. Do you think the penalties outlined in the Act are sufficient to deter violation? That is, I read the penalties for people who fail this violation. Do you think it is enough?
Okay, so I'll say that the penalty is not sufficient.
Right.
And if you look back at the law when it was drafted, it was a lot of years of collaboration, joint activity of activists, human rights, and persons with disability to push for the recognition of disability rights. So I think this was done in a hurry for us to have something presented on the table to be able to fight for the right and inclusion of persons with disability. But with the current realities within the country, there is need for a serious review of the provision of the Act, because as you mentioned, the penalty of 50,000 compared to today's economy is not justifiable
at all.
Yeah, people will easily violate the law and then make
pay that
penalty. And this violation will continue because the penalty is something they can easily afford. So I think there's a need for us to do a review and then put a serious sanction on anyone that violates the provision of such law, for us to ensure that all of the discrimination and inequalities that persons with disability experiences is brought to an end.
Okay, let me digress a little bit. I've just recognized the presence of Mrs. Chigbu. Welcome, ma'am. You can unmute.
Thank you so
to
much.
say
Thank
hi.
you for having me.
Thank you for bringing out time to be part of today's discussion. Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank you.
Mrs. Uche, I've been able to answer at least one of 2 questions that I have, but I still want to ask more, especially in the aspect of the review of the act. I want to know what are the measures taken so far for the review of, especially the penalties? Has there been any measure taken so far?
Okay, is that question to me?
Yeah. I want to know if there are measures
Okay.
taken so far for the
Okay.
review, especially in the penalties for those who fail.
So for the review of the act, we are the National Secretariat, which is the umbrella organization for the Joint National Association of Persons with Disability. So we are in the process of engaging with all of the clusters of persons with disability to come together to the table to ensure that we work together to see how we can bring on the process of reviewing the act.
Okay.
Sorry.
I want
Sorry.
to know.
So sorry, I have to work together with my interpreter so that
Okay, no problem.
we would have a clear communication.
No problem.
Okay, so what I was trying to say is that yes, there is a process for us to review the act. Organization of Persons with Disability have come together to work together with the lawmakers in the House of Assembly to review the act, which is the Disability Act, to make sure that other areas of needs within the act are well captured, which include the penalties,
Okay.
and then also issue around women and children with disabilities.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am, for that. So you said this act, you've taken measures to meet the House of Representatives. So has there been any positive response from them or any encouragement to push further?
Yes, there is a positive response. Why I'm saying that is because the chairman, House Committee on Persons with Disability, have made a lot of contacts, a lot of discussion is ongoing presently within the House. A lot of effort has been put in place to see to the process of the reviewing, so which we are hoping it will materialize soon.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ma'am Krista, can you hear me? I don't know if she's with us. Ma'am Krista. Okay, we'll continue. Maybe she'll be a bit busy. All right. At this point, I want to
Sorry,
hear
I
from
can
our
hear you.
audience. Okay. I thought
My
maybe
network.
we lost communication.
No, I'm right here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good for having you back. All right. I want to know, Ma'am Krista, from a legal point of view, what challenges exist in enforcing the Section 28 provision? You know, the Section 8 and 28 provision has to do with the employment inclusion of persons with disability in labor force. If you want me to reread the act, I will go back to do that. So one is court access. That is, people with disability have the right to work in a free and open labor market. Freedom of choice. They have the right to choose their own work without discrimination. Employment quota. That is, public organizations are mandated to reserve at least 5% of their jobs for persons with disability. Then non-discrimination. Employers must ensure that people with disability are not denied employment opportunity based on their disability. So what I'm asking in essence is, and there were penalties for this, people who violate these laws, there are penalties, that is, individuals are liable to minimum of 250,000 naira in damage. Companies who violate this law are liable to minimum of 500,000 naira in damage. The principal offending officers, companies, are liable to 50,000 naira in damage. So these penalties, Uche have said something about it, that they've been making efforts, they have been taking measures to ensure that these penalties is reviewed, because in the present day economy, it is something people can afford, and and once they afford it, they will continue with the violation because they can definitely afford it. So she have addressed that, saying that they've taken measure to House of Reps, so that the act can be reviewed, the penalty, especially the penalty, can be reviewed. So now I want to know, from legal point of view, legal standpoint, what challenges exist in enforcing Section 28 provision? That is, what are the challenges faced in enforcing that people employ, companies employ persons with disability, individuals, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the first thing that I want to clarify is that the fine, and that's where I agree very much with Madam Uche, is really small. It's not even 250,000 naira for individuals. It's 100,000 naira for individuals, or 6 months imprisonment, or both. So depending on whatever it is, when it comes to an individual, it's either you get the fine, or you go to prison, or depending on the judge that is on the case, you pay your fine and you also still go to prison. But when it comes to organization is 1 million naira, so it's 1 million naira in fine. But like she rightly said, when you look at today's economic cost of running operations and everything, you really see that money has become very, very small. It's almost nothing. So because it is nothing, you find that people can choose to continue to offend because they can afford it. However, I think the legal barriers that we have is not necessarily because the law is not enforcing it, but because we do not have enforcers. So if you look across different states, Lagos State, for instance, has an agency that is managing the disability affairs. Very few states have enacted state-owned agencies that can actually implement these laws. That's the first thing. The second issue that you see is that even the agencies are not enforcing it. And so if enforcement is not happening, then there is nothing to even take, to the law and say that this needs to happen. So I think a couple of things need to happen. Apart from the review of the cost of the fine, there needs to be a lot of education even for the society and organizations at large. So currently, we are running a program that is for young persons with disabilities to ensure that they are employable. At the end of the program, we do a matching with organizations where they can work. So they go to those organizations, they go and intern. Some of the organizations retain them, some are not able to retain persons with disability. However, what this does is we begin to see the gaps that exist, both from persons with disabilities themselves and actually from organizations. You see that a lot of organizations are not even ready to be able to accommodate persons with disabilities in their employment. So this opens to their eyes first to the law, to the gaps that they have, and we can then begin to ensure implementation. But the legal issues that we have is that the agencies that are responsible for ensuring that this happens are not even following through on the work that they need to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. So this agency that has been put out to ensure the enforcement of this law, what do you think can be done so that they can come out? Have they come out to say the challenges they are facing, or maybe they don't have enough sufficient workforce or work instruments to enforce this? Has there been any complaint from them?
I think you have jumped right into it. The first thing is that there is no funding to support these guys to do the work that we have asked them to do. So they don't have staff. They don't have enough funds to be able to execute the work that they need to do. That's one. Emmanuella, I think the second issue is the fact that they are not equipped, even with the necessary trainings, to be able to approach the organizations that they need to approach to do this. And then when you also look at it as even for public sector that has a quota that they need to deliver on, you even have buildings of public sectors that are not affordable, or having the right resources to actually have the right reasonable accommodation for persons with disabilities. So I think these are some of the gaps that really exist today that we have in the system.
Okay, now with these things you have mentioned so far, is the Nigerian government aware of these lapses?
This is an interesting question. I know Madam Uche, they work a lot with the government in terms of advocacy and work. If you ask me, is government aware? Yes, they are aware of these lapses. Are there steps that are being taken? I think yes. But the steps are really slow compared to the urgency that we need in ensuring that persons with disabilities are attended to. This law, the act was in place in 2018 and enacted in 2019, and it's been 5 years plus since this happened, and we're not seeing commensurate effort, and changes to see that we are actually establishing this law. So it almost looks like what we did was tick a box to say, do we have a law? Yes, we do have a law. Is the law being implemented? That again is the question that we start asking as we look around to see how much awareness organizations even have to be able to support persons with disabilities.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Krista. Thank you so much. So at this point, I would like to hear from our audience. Please kindly use the chat box or raise your virtual hand to share your thoughts on these questions that have been said, that have been asked so far. Do you think stricter penalties would lead to better enforcement of the Disability Act? So please kindly send in your contribution to the chat box and I'll read them out. Okay, so let's continue. So, this is for Ma'am Uche and Ma'am Krista. Please, I want to know, with all these challenges so far we have been talking about, especially the implementation, the bodies, the people who have been selected to enforce the challenges they are facing. Now, Nigeria, we are over 200 million people. So what do you think? A step by step, a little by little progress we can take? Do we need to start from the public and do we need to start from the grassroots, like educational sector, to sensitize people in the school, students? Then we move further, then call the attention of the Nigerian government. So what measure do you think we can take, especially in sensitizing the general public to understand the inclusion?
I think Mrs. Uche wants to go.
Okay, Ma'am Uche.
Oh yeah, okay, thank you very much. This is an interesting question. There is a lot that needs to be done. First thing is to work on the attitude and the mindset of government officials. We need to ensure that they have an open mind to embrace disability. We also, as persons with disability, they need to see us as first human before the disability, and see the potentials that persons with disabilities has to be able to give them opportunity within the society. And if the negative stereotypes, the negative attitude of the society is being eliminated, we would be able to have an increased inclusive society and have a reduction in the marginalization and discrimination that persons with disability experiences. Another thing is that we need to ensure that we are creating access for persons with disability to be able to access education, have opportunity to be in school. Also, there is a nexus between poverty and disability. And if we are providing opportunity for persons with disability to have an accessible education, accessible employment, we'll be able to close the gap that exists between persons with disability and poverty. And then also, persons with disability, when they have equal opportunity, they have access to education, they will also be able to contribute their quota into the society. Then the community, the society also, with a change of mindset, they will be willing to accept and ensure that they are fully included within the society. So organization and stakeholders should first of all embrace persons with disability and disability as a right for persons that are in the society, for them to be able to contribute their quota. That way, the gap within the employment will reduce. And then I would also yield the floor to my colleague to be able to add some.
Okay, Ma'am Krista.
And I think that's really exhaustive. Thank you so much, Madam Uche. But in addition, honestly, I think one simple thing that we need to do is really continue to do awareness creation. This law is there. A lot of people don't even know it. And we need to then generate and create ambassadors that make these things happen. And I give you a case in point. Just over the weekend, I was at the mall, one of the malls in Lagos. And, somebody parked, just the disability parking was left. Nobody parked on the disability parking, but they parked someone to block the disability parking. And so I came out from my car and I was like, you cannot park here. And the guy was like, no, he's not going to stay long. I said, well, imagine that I have in my car, or somebody else has a disability and they are coming. Where are they going to park? And so even the security people that are supposed to know what to do did not know exactly what to do. It was okay to block the disability parking. And that's why I said it's almost as if we have ticked the boxes. Should there be disability parking in that kind of places? Yes, we have ticked the box, but we don't know what to do with it and we are blocking it. How will the person with disability park when they want to? If Madam Uche gets there, how is she able to reach out and communicate when they are blocked where she needs to park? So it is critical that the kind of education that needs to happen goes beyond just, what we are doing as civil society. But, for government to do the kind of awareness creation for private sector, it's a state, nationwide stakeholder engagement to educate everybody that needs to know. Sometimes when you get to the disability toilets, they use it as where they want to park things. They park, that's where they park things. And those things are not right. And a lot of times when I engage with the cleaners, the people that should know exactly what to do, they don't even know about the disability. They don't even understand what it is and the implication of what they are doing. So the awareness creation needs to be taken to the grassroots and in ways where people can really understand, very simple terms and ways that helps us to know and ensure implementation. So if you just, the people to pay the fine, if they can pay the fine, they pay the fine. If they not, they go to prison. But before we start even ensuring that the fines are being legalized, we need to make sure that we're creating the necessary education for the society that needs to, disability awareness needs to be next to everything that we know. And I usually tell people, whether you're working on a building or you're building your organization, if you think through it with the lens of disability, you have covered every staff in every way. and you will have a functioning organization without any bots. So we're not asking that you create a different world for persons with disabilities. Is ensuring that there is a lens with which we are looking at everything that we're doing and making sure that the law is brought to the front or implemented to the latter. And that makes life easy, not just for persons with disability, but everybody in the society.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this enlightenment. Thank you so much. I want to draw out some few questions for what you said. If a security personnel does not know what a disability parking space is for, what do you think we should do as a whole security personnel who have access to other do's and don'ts, right?
So I think it comes back to education. A lot of times companies employ people and the right kind of trainings. And I mean, I just give example with security personnel. I can give you example, and Madam Uche will be able to tell you very well. I can give example with the airport. I can give example with different places. These are consistently, and that's why I think that education and sensitization is critical. The fines, yes, we hold the stick, but there is a part of ensuring that people are properly trained to be able to make these things happen. Because if not, we will just continue to have conversations, and there is nowhere to take it from there. Somebody put a comment here on religious bodies. That might be our approach, because we are a very religious country. So it's looking for every avenue to be able to reach people and educate them to the point where, it becomes a second nature. So, and people are doing the right things.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to read from our audience. Peniel Foundation says, as a nation, as Ma'am Krista said, that the act was just done to tick the box. An in-depth understanding is necessary for the society, and most importantly, the policy makers. So when they carry out the implementation, it is not from a place of mediocrity, but from in-depth awareness to make our nation inclusive and accessible to PWs in all sectors of the economy. Thank you very much, Peniel Foundation. And also, Michael Fadei said, penalties aid. I think we need to focus. There's a mic on. Can the person mute, please? There's a mic on. Penalties aid. I think we need to focus more on attitudinal factors. We should sensitize the society on the need for inclusivity. Religious bodies and families should also preach love and total acceptance of PWDs. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Fadei, for that contribution. So, like Ma'am Krista also added, she said religious body. As a nation, Nigeria is a religious country. We all know that. So the sensitization can go further or can start from the church, from the church, the mosques, and every other places. The sensitization can start from them. Okay, moving further, I still have a few questions here. So what are the biggest challenges persons with disability face when entering Nigeria labor markets? What are the biggest challenges we face? Is it qualification?
I think I want to go for
Elvis,
okay.
Really? Elvis, you have been all this while.
No, because I really want to go here because being in charge of operations, you are always in charge of seeing employment all the time, right? Both internally and externally. So I think let me just air my view here. My own. This is not going to be PWD view now. It's going to be just like the HR view that we have. All right. So again, I really want to appreciate Madam Uche and Madam Krista. I really learned one or two things which I'm going to be adding to my operational works. So, but to answer that one, if for PWDs that are actually going into the labor market, now for the over about 2 years that I've been in the disability space, I've come to understand that the persons with disability are truly dynamic. They are very unique and very, very dynamic in their dealings. But if there's something I've actually come to notice is, I don't know if it is just me, but I'm just going to say it the way I've observed it. I know Madam Uche Andrew and Crystal, please don't bring out a knife to cut my neck. I'm just being safe. I'm just trying to be safe, right? So now I've noticed there's this certain level of entitlement mentality that come into these people, right? So when they come into the labor market, there's this feeling that you know that, just like, let me give you a typical example. A pregnant woman enters a bus, and she's carrying two child with her. There's this feeling and that mentality in her head that, I'm pregnant and I'm carrying two children. You should be able to get up for me so that I will sit down, right? So there's this feeling of entitlement that, I'm like this, so you're supposed to give me this. But the truth about it is that the labor market doesn't work. It doesn't answer to pity. It answers to value. Now, so persons with disability, yes, we know that the art is there, and beyond compulsion, we are compelled to actually fulfill the art. But there's this certain level of constraint. Now, let me give you a typical example. Yesterday, we had an opportunity to, this is a practical example. We wanted to employ somebody, right? So I think yesterday or within the week now, we wanted to employ somebody from the PWD community. But the truth about it is, we asked for key skills for where to fit in, but the person doesn't have it. The person didn't have the skill. When you ask, okay, do you know how to do this? Do you have to do copywriting? Do you know how to do this aspect? Do you know how to do this aspect? The only answer we hear is no. So it's me and my HR manager were like, so what do we do? But the person, imagine if we now go back and tell the person that, sorry, we cannot employ you. It will not look as if you are the bad person. You will now look in the end of that person now, these people don't want to employ me because I'm a person with disability. But it's not like that. It's actually because it actually took us a couple of 30 minutes to actually bend. We have to actually bend our own processes and our own policies to ensure that, to see how we can accommodate the person. So I feel that persons with disability going into the labor market, first I need to understand that the labor market does not answer to pity. It does not answer to you being you. There's no bread and butter. It's not a bread and butter thing. It answers to the position of value. What value are you bringing to the marketplace? There's one mentor I usually follow. He tells me that, he always say that it is the value you bring to the marketplace that returns back to you as your salary. So if you are not bringing any value to the marketplace, you will not be paid. So I think if PSWDs, we are going to be going into this employment world, with every institutions and agencies that are speaking to persons with disability need to communicate the position of employers employ you on the basis on the value you bring to the marketplace. If you don't bring value to the marketplace, it will be very, very difficult for employers of labor to actually engage that person. Because pity is not the game. Value is the game. So if we start communicating value to these people, that their CVs, their everything, start having value, start having substance, it will be very difficult for me, like the person I wanted to employ now, if the person has these skills, it will be wicked of me not to give the person the job. It will be very wicked of me. But if the person doesn't have the skill, there's nothing I want to do. The only thing I would just have to do is to do what Yoruba used to call amubalegbe. Right? So just now amubalegbe is like yes.
Mr. Elvis, well done. You know that I will not agree with you. That's why he said we should not hold the government and So I want to go back to Emmanuella's question. And I think that Emmanuella's question is not necessarily about the competence of the person with disabilities. It's the gaps that makes organizations not to be able to employ persons with disabilities. We already know, and if we want to be fair, and that's why the Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act 2018 is there, to ensure that persons with disabilities have access to education. One of the biggest challenges that persons with disabilities have is that they don't even have the opportunity to go to school like they are typical. And so if you don't go to school and you're asking me for the questions you're asking me, it's going to be difficult to establish that. However, let's bring it back, because I want to confidently tell you that we do have persons with disabilities that have gone to school, and have some of the skills that you're talking about. So the first thing I think organizations need to do is review their policies to accommodate, and I'm using the word accommodation, of persons with disabilities. So, and I will be giving you with examples. My office space is not disability accessible. So you have a lot of staircase, and at some point I employed persons with disabilities that work for me. So the accommodation that we needed to do was to see that, those that have those disabilities and climbing staircase will be a challenge, sit downstairs versus come upstairs. So the rest of us go to them. It's called accommodation. So it's for policies in organizations to be able to accommodate persons with disabilities. I told you that there's a project that we currently run in our organization that supports young people with disabilities, and we pair them with organizations. At the end of the day, the experience has always been, oh my God, I did not know that this person can deliver this much. And organizations have retained the people. So what needs to happen is organizations need to begin to make those accommodations. If I employ somebody that is visually impaired, for instance, the laptop that I'm going to give the person, I need to be able to have softwares that will help the person to deliver the job. So maybe a screen reader, and you need to pay attention to some interesting things. If I work with Madam Uche, for instance, and every time we are having conversations, I am only talking. We are not transcribing the conversations that we are having. She is not going to be supported. So it is critical that organizations begin to pay attention to those nuances that help people with disabilities to function within their organization. And I think as the awareness creation comes, Elvis, you have removed your video. As the awareness, comes, and
I think he's listening, he's hearing you.
It start happening, what we begin to see is that, both the organization and persons with disabilities will begin to function better. The second thing, and this is attached to persons with disabilities, will be that you also make sure that there is value you bring to the table. Improve your skills. Just like Elvis said, organizations pay for value, not sentiment. So if you have the right skill, then there is no reason why, if I employ you for maybe as a programs officer, I should pay you the same wages that I will pay somebody else. And that's just what the law is saying, that is on that same role. So I should not say because you are a person with disabilities, you earn lesser than the person that does not have a disability. So those are my own submissions. I will allow Madam Uche to talk.
Okay, thank you very much. I think you have said it all. A lot of things have come out from the discussion between you and Elvis, but as a support to that, I would want to emphasize from the foundation, which is the education for persons with disability. If persons with disability were given opportunity to be educated the same way persons without disability have those opportunities, they will be mainstream into the education sector, understanding the different skills they need to acquire. Like Elvis was saying that, okay, we asked, do you have copyright skills? Do you have communication skills? And all of the answers they are getting is no, no, no. This is because persons with disability might not be aware of those trainings, those skills prior to the level they get to seek for employment, and understanding that, the education space, the education ecosystem in Nigeria is also not inclusive. So a lot of persons with disabilities struggle through schools to acquire the certificate to be able to graduate at the end of the day. And then talking about persons with disability that even have all of those skills, our organization ensuring that they are capturing their reasonable accommodation. You have a blind persons that have the necessary skills for him to work in your organization, and you are employing such blind persons. What are the reasonable accommodation that you are putting in place for him to be able to work on his laptop, to be able to move freely within the organization? What are the disability friendly policies that you have within your organization? You are employing a deaf person, like you said, Madam Krista, that if you are having a deaf person, you don't have a sign language interpreter for the deaf person. How do you expect the deaf person to also contribute to the process within the organization, aside the skill that the deaf person has? So, and I can tell you that in schools, when you have deaf persons with their sign language interpreter employed, I could draw from an example where a deaf person is leading the department. So if there is a good platform for them to be able to learn, they will be able to acquire those skills that is needed. So for us to say persons with disability getting employment and they do not have the skill, we need to look back into the education and the process of the education of persons with disability. So for me as a deaf person, I would need a sign language interpreter to be able to participate, to be able to understand. So if organizations are not covering for such, for me as a deaf person, so how do you expect those workforces, those relationships within the workspace to go along well? So we need to ensure that we are giving the necessary provision, the necessary access that we need as persons with disability on the same platform, on the same basis, on an equal basis with persons without disability. And then you will see the inherent potential that persons with disability have, and they will be able to contribute to the value that organization needs. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Uche. Thank you, Ma'am Krista. And thank you so much, Mr. Elvis, for that contribution. So I have a little mix-up of question here. Okay, I want to know, Mr. Elvis, this is directly to you. I want to know, do you think employing persons with disability incur more costs for the organization? Do you think?
So let's put it in. I like in every meetings of disability inclusion I go to, I like to be as practical as I learn to be. Right. That doesn't mean that doesn't have a question in my disability inclusion. I'm just trying to be as practical so that we have a balanced conversation, right? Now, it is true if I'm talking at it from the point of numbers now, because I'm the numbers guy. When we look at it from the financial accounting now, because now as in operations you see money flying and everything. I think one of the things is, the truth about it is that it's costly. Right, I think if I'm going to be looking at it, it's very, very expensive. It's because just like you talked about sign language interpreter now we have to get a sign language interpreter, and that sign language interpreter is an extra cost, because if you're employing a person with hearing impairment now, it means you have to employ a sign language interpreter. That means you are paying for 2 people's salary. Now, if I'm going to be employing a visually impaired person now, I'm going to either getting a software which is JAWS, and JAWS is, the last time I checked, JAWS is around 500k annually. So now that's plus the person's salary annually. So if you look at it in a very broad shell, it's very. Now Madam Krista talked about modification of buildings to ensure that the building become inclusive. Now if we modify building, it means you have to break and re-break. If the building was not built the way it was, you have to break. All these are costs. But I feel that the most important thing is not actually the cost. All I cost for SFP, the cost is not really the most important thing. The cost is actually more for us. I think it's actually a motivation. Now, for us, we have come to understand that rather than putting the cost in your front, you have to put humanity. Like the interview we had, like I was citing an example. Now, we knew that it's going to be costly. There are some other things we knew that it's going to be costly, but we could see the joy in the interviewers, in the person that came, the PWD that came for interview. We saw the joy in her face when we were able to give her a job, offer an opportunity to actually show what she can offer, right? So we believe that sense of humanity is the most important thing, and that's something that has prepared us in everything we do, irrespective of the cost. It is very expensive. I won't lie to you. It is very expensive. But the joy and the laughter that comes in the minds of persons with disability. There was one time that the person with disability that we employed in our office for the very first time luckily got her first paycheck. I could see that she and the HR manager became close friends in that first 1 week when the salary came in. So it became a form of motivation for us that yes, we are spending more, but the fact that we are impacting and contributing to society is one of the biggest things for us. I think that's one thing that organizations will also need to do. That yes, being disability inclusive is actually costly. But the fact that you are contributing to making sure that the society become a better place is something that we should actually put together irrespective of the cost.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elvis. You can mute. Okay, all right. You have admit that employing persons with disability incur costs to the organization. So, do you think this is the challenges some organizations have, which is why they cannot follow the law of employing persons with disability?
So for me, if I'm to answer it now from a business-minded angle, let me give you a typical instance. Let's say, for example, the law says 5% of your workforce, at least 5% of your workforce should come from persons with disability. Now, let's assume I'm a startup company that is starting up. I've not broken even. I'm just starting up. It's going to be very costly on my own end, because at that point I'm trying to make profit, right? I'll just start up, right? So I think most times it's a bit dicey, right? It's a bit dicey, but it's a bit complicated, but I think what I will advocate most times is that for organizations that are bigger organizations, I don't want to make names now, top organizations, Fortune 500 organizations, they have the power, the wherewithal now, should be able to fully embrace this. They should be able to, because they have the financial capital. But for startup organizations that are just starting up, probably they have a team of 5, a team of 3, a team of that. Yes, they can see that. I think I saw an organization that just started up. Rather than getting all PWDs, they wanted to be very inclusive. So what they did was, they went for the one that they will not cost them too much. They went for a person with albinism. Well, I think in a way that could be something that they can do. You might see it as it's not all good, but if you look at it in that way, they are trying to be inclusive and they're also trying to be cost effective. So I think we can start in that light. We can be able to go away. That's just my own point. But for our own as a company, I think we have embraced it completely, and we are pursuing it in the right, irrespective of whatever your disability type is. But I think for startups, that will also be another challenge that we have.
Okay,
I think that employing persons with disability is not costly. The problem we are having is the design from the onset. If you design, and that's what the law gave us access to do, it gave a moratorium of 5 years for everybody to start changing the way that they think. You don't have to break a building to make that building accessible. There are different things, and that is why it is called reasonable accommodation. You make provision for the persons with disability, and that's what we are beginning to say. Design with the mindset that you're going to employ somebody with disability. 500,000 naira to buy jot is not huge a cost to pay for the value that you're going to get from that person, if that person is great. So and you will spend that money even on persons that do not have disability, depending on what it is that you need to make sure that they have in place. So as HR, as operations, as you design, you already know that in the coming year, I'm going to employ somebody with a disability. What are the possible disability types that we are going to be employing people from? And so based on that, what are the things that we are going to need? It is planning as an organization. So I'm not going to, and when we plan as an organization, we don't look at today. You plan with the mindset. And I think iPhone that, if you have an iPhone, they don't make a different kind of iPhone for those that are visually impaired. Oh, Kemi, I can hear. Okay. They don't make
mute, please.
They don't make a different iPhone or a different phone for person that is visually impaired. There are already things that are in the iPhone that just need to be activated. For your laptop, you don't have to go and buy a different kind of laptop. So I am saying that the issue that we have as a people is our mindset that needs to change so that we begin to design with disability in mind. And as we do that as organizations, we will thrive. So you cannot come to the party with it is expensive. Are there modifications that need to happen in today? Yes. Do I consider them as something that I will call expensive? No, because the way accounting is done, it's not done for today. You break your costs over a period of time. So that's critical for organizations as they think in employing persons with disability. In the immediate, you will put an investment in place. I don't consider it as cost. I consider it as an investment that needs to be in place for the person to be able to thrive. And that's the mindset that we want organizations to begin to look at, to begin to plan for. Even if you're going to employ somebody and the person doesn't have a disability, but there is investment that you need to put in place as an organization, you won't say it's costly to employ this person. You look at the long-term achievements. And that's why I agree with you, Elvis. I am not going to employ you just because you have a disability. I'm going to employ you because there is something that you bring to the table that I need, and you are going to make that happen for me. So I bring you into the room to deliver that for me. So you have to deliver, disability or not. But what do I do as an employer? I remove the barriers that will make sure that will not help you to deliver. So it's like saying, for instance, I'm not going to employ somebody because the person is pregnant and I think a pregnant woman is going to give me issue. Or I'm not going to employ you because I think you are a woman and a woman will likely have hormonal issues, and so because of that I don't want a woman in the system. That is discrimination. So you cannot discriminate based on cost to be able to employ persons with disabilities. And as soon as we begin to have a mindset change, it absolutely changes everything that we do. And I give an example and I wrap up because I know other people need to talk. I work a lot with children with disabilities, and I've gone to schools that will say, oh, this child, the class is upstairs. And so because the class is upstairs, we can't take this child. And there I begin to talk to them about reasonable accommodation. And you see a lot of people decide to say, you know what, we're going to bring primary 6 from upstairs to the downstairs just to be able to support this child. And I think that that's the kind of accommodation that we are asking for till we get to a place as a country, as a people, where disability design comes into focus as we are doing everything that we are doing, whether we are building, whether we are thinking of information going out, whether we are thinking of hiring, we have that disability filter on, and it helps us to make it happen. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Krista. I am so much in love with how you talk and all the light you are putting so far. So I want to give Ma'am Uche an opportunity. Ma'am Uche, do you want to say something before I read the comments?
Yes. I want to completely agree with Madam Krista because she actually spoke my mind. But I wanted to add to what she had said that if at the initial stage we think around persons with disability, we will not have issues when it comes to mainstreaming them into the workforce. I also wanted to congratulate Elvis for completely owning up to the fact that they have completely accepted persons with disability into their workforce, either it is costly or not. So just like Madam Crystal already said, if at the beginning of your design you already thought about persons with disability, you already have in place an inclusive budgeting at the beginning, so you wouldn't be thinking about the cost when it comes to employing persons with disability, because you already factored that into your budget. You already understood that yes, at a point we would have persons with disability coming into this organization, so it will make it easier for persons with disabilities, reasonable accommodation to be catered for within your budget. And then also you're looking at the value that the persons with disability is bringing into your organization and how they will be contributing to the expansion of your organization. And then looking at universal design of products, of building, of everything. So when you put universal design into consideration as a business owner, as an employer of labor, you would not have to start incurring extra costs to do remodification. It is remodification that is costly. If we think inclusion right from the beginning, it is actually not costly. That's what I have to add to this discussion, because I would also be letting you know that I might be moving out of the meeting because I have other engagements to participate in.
Okay, ma'am. Uche, that's quite understood. That's quite understood, because I had it before time that you will not be spending the whole time with us. So, but whenever you want to go, you just let me know and I'll give you the floor for it. Okay. All right. In order of appreciation to the inclusion, XFP have been doing well so far, because I am an evidence of it, because I'm a person with disability who is currently moderating this discussion. Do you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to say I would like to leave now because my time is up actually.
Oh, okay. You're free to go, ma'am.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you too for coming. Thank you.
All right, see you another time.
All right, ma'am.
So see you, Crystal and Elvis. Thank you for your contribution.
All right, ma'am.
Okay, so I also wanted to add to Elvis before I leave. Yeah, so with all of this discussion we are having, I think it is also important for you to step it down to your staff. For them, you have learned a lot on this platform, and it's also good that they also are carried along to understand the inclusion of persons with disability, and also to be able to work together with you. All of this learning should not end here. It should be something that we should trickle down to everyone that we work with, so that we'll have a better and inclusive society. It is important for us as organization to bring all of this learning to our staffs, so also that they can join us to champion inclusion, to also drive this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Uche. Thank you so. And again, we are SFP is all for persons with disability. So it's all these ideas. Everything I spoke was actually spoken as an MBA student, as a business management student. So I'm giving. It's actually from a business angle. I'm giving that, not actually from SFP, because for us at SFP, that's what we do. We are only for persons with disability. Our act for persons with disability. But I need to bring that idea from a business-minded angle for into everything in the conversation.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Moving forward, we are still in the job employability of persons with disability. Okay, but before I move further, I would like to read a chat from Oluwakemi. She said, employing persons with disability is not about the cost, but the barrier stemming from attitude. From the barrier stemming from attitude, communication, infrastructure, etc., is what possesses It is what possessed as a barrier. Okay, what she's saying in essence is does not employ a person with disability does not actually incur costs, but the barrier stemming from the attitude, communication, just like Ma'am Krista said, modification, having person with disability in mind will make the workload easy and less burdensome. So moving further in the aspect of job, we know that in different job roles, there's what they call the entry level, the intermediate, and professional. So I want to know, so Elvis, I think this is the last for the employability of person with disability. So I want to know if employing person with disability, I think the role should be specific, whether an entry level role, an intermediate. You know, an entry level role is like a fresh graduate who does not have understanding of the who have little or no understanding of the job, provided that training will be given, right? So
yes.
for a period of time, so that he or she will be able to discharge a duty, right? So I want to know, this role, are they very much effective in employing persons with disability?
I think yes, because entry level roles are one of the key, like in our job center currently now, one of the key things we are trying to really push for are entry level roles, because all through last year we wanted to give out roles out. We spoke with different employers, and majority of some of them were talking 3 to 7 years working experience, some of them were saying 2 years working experience, and the rest of them like that. But when we look at the CVs, the bulk of the CVs we had, I think entry level role was one of the major things that fits in. So that's why I think this year we are pushing out for entry level roles. That entry level roles should be, because for entry level roles, there's not too much interviews. You are not very, very strict in your interviews. You are not strict in your everything. You are more focused on, you are assuming the position that this person is a tabula rasa, right? A tabula rasa is somebody that you are coming like a clean slate, right? So you are coming to actually shape and model this person the way, but the person is a hot iron, right? So which you want to model into what you want and what shape you want the person to take. So I think one of the key roles, and we are already advocating in the job center and also for every person, that entry level roles should be one key roles that persons with disabilities should be open for. That if your skills, if you are just starting the career ladder now, that's what I'm saying, if you are starting the career ladder now, look for entry level roles, internship roles, entry level roles that will give you the opportunity to learn and grow and build your career. So I think that's one of those roles that we are pursuing in the job center, and also we are also going to be advocating for that. Even if you are saying that it's going to be cost effective, why don't you give persons with disability that entry level role where they can be able to learn and build their portfolio for the next step in their career. So for me, Krista, I just wanted to. There was something that I wanted to say when you said something about investments. Then I think that's one key thing that people don't really understand. Again, that aspect of investment. That the subject of, I think one. I want to talk about cost now. I wasn't really talking about it from pre-design, because if you look at it from when you are building a house from the very beginning, you already have it in your mind that, okay, yes, this thing I'm building for this particular. But what if the house is already built? Everything is already there. So I think when you talk about investment, that mindset shift, that people need to start understanding that you are actually making an investment. That's where I think when we start thinking that way, we will not really be thinking about the business angle of it much. But when we are thinking about the investment, I think we'll be able to really push that message of inclusion to drive it home in business.
Absolutely, Elvis, you're absolutely right. And there are accommodations, that there are options now. You don't have to totally break. And that investment mindset actually comes from the mind, because you then start seeing solutions that are available beyond just breaking. I mean, if you look at, for instance, our international airport, most of the time the escalator is not working, but there is an equipment that they use to take persons with disabilities from one level to another. So at the point where they want to use it, they attach it to the staircase, and then it slides the person down. And so there are options. There are options. It just opens your mind once it's something that you want to do.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Elvis, for that. Thank you so much. When I have more questions about employability, I'll come back to you. So, moving forward, I want to know, Krista, are you with us? So, who should be held? Okay, who should be held accountable for ensuring compliance to the Disability Act? Do you think government agency, employers, or society as a whole?
I think that the people that should be, it's majorly government and agencies, and that's why the government, for instance, has put in place agencies that should. So I think that they should be the primary people that we hold responsible, because it's their job, right? And then I think secondary, enforcement now comes from we, the community, that now understands what disability is, and begin to put ourselves right. But primarily, I think it should come from the agencies and the government, and civil society is also trying its best, but we are all secondary enforcers, as the case may be.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So what do you think, what should disability advocacy group plays in holding violators accountable? Like persons with disability, if you go to the job you went for to seek an employment, and you are qualified for that job role, and they didn't employ you, you weren't employed because of your disability, and it was so obvious. So how do the person with disability hold these violators accountable, and who should they report to?
We have the National Association of Persons with Disability. There's a commission. There is a commission. There are civil societies that are organizations. You have the Joint Association of Persons with Disabilities, JONAPID. I think these are strong organizations that this can be, reported to, and also agencies, depending on the state where the person belongs to. So if you are in, say for instance, you're in Lagos State, then you have LASODA. So when you report to these quarters, then they can now, match to see how to fix it. And I think a secondary approach that you can use is social media. Let's get the sympathy of the of the community. And I think social media is a tool that we all don't use as much as we should use it. We can get into the community and start saying, community, come and help me, or they did not give me job, because I have a disability. And you will see that as soon as the booing and the hiring starts from the social media, then the people start to respond. Even for people that don't have disability, when you go to social media and complain to the court of the community, we come with our strong hand to come and fight you. So I think those are options. We already do have our laws, the lawmakers in place and the people that check, which is, like I said, the National Commission of Persons with Disability, which is a federal organization. You have JONAPID, and in addition to JONAPID, there are other civil societies and social media. We will carry your case on our head, and we've seen how social media has helped. By the way, if we see, the issue with KFC and all of that, it was social media. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I love the fact that you mentioned social media. So what happened to those who are not very much versatile with social media?
I've already said it. There are agencies, and these agencies are now spread across different states, and that's why we need to belong to the communities. Again, we cannot work in isolation, so we need to belong to these communities, and that's how you can start making your voice heard. And I don't know if somebody else has a different way. I mean, I see Kemi on the call. Kemi does. I see Peniel Foundation. They do a lot of work in disability also. You can just chip in ideas that you think that we can use to fix this.
The floor is open. Kenya Foundation, if you want to say something, you could just let me know.
Okay, so yes, just like Madam Crystal said, social media is a very powerful tool, and organizations to an agency like we also work in the space of disability employability, and with the help of this community. Now, community is like a very strong force that can help aid this movement. So yeah, I totally agree with what she says. Thank you.
Easy to add to it, just to add to it, I think that's one of the basic reasons why we at SFP we brought out our stories and voices, where it's a podcast for persons with disability. So if you can definitely reach out to us, and probably we can have an episode whereby you can talk about it, talk about your challenges, talk about that issue that it is. And funny enough, Ella here is one of the hosts here, so I believe she would definitely be able to air that view. And again, if you just want it to be anonymous, we will definitely have all the accommodations for that, because like Madam Krista said, media is very important, and that's one of the key things for us we are pushing on. That one of the main way for us to be able to achieve this disability inclusion is actually media. And that's why we're putting that aspect. So if there's any opportunity or one of those instances, you can always reach out to SFP, and we definitely give you a platform through our podcast and every other of our media platform to able to edit you.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Elvis. Yeah, we are using our platform just like Sir Elvis mentioned, our podcast stories and voices. So if you have any concern that you need to show it to the world, you need to say it to the world, you can just reach out, and definitely we'll be able to map out a session for you. All right, moving further, because we have less than a few minutes to go to wrap this up. So I want to know, how do you think are there examples do you have any example? I know that XFP is an example of a private organization who is implementing 5% employment for persons with disability. So do you have any other organization who are also implementing this 5% employment for persons with disability? Do you know any organization, public or private sector?
It's interesting. I think there is this interesting organization, Clean Ace, and they do hire especially those that have hearing impairment. And I think in their employ currently, it's even more than 5%. They probably have about 20% of their organization, being persons with disabilities. I know that we don't have the numbers, so I don't have numbers off the top of my head, but I know that what is beginning to happen is disability awareness is beginning to go into the thinking of most organizations. I shared with you some of the organizations that we currently work with, and I think we work with USC, we work with TAG, a couple of them that are employing persons with disabilities. I think Kemi has something to say.
Okay, Kemi, the floor is open. You can go ahead. Unmute.
Okay, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning. I can.
Okay, yeah, good morning. So, to start with, well done for the good job. And talking about the organizations, yes, we understand that Nigeria is not built under the foundation of inclusion, and it's a gradual process, right? And yes, especially when it comes to this employment, strata, persons with disability being employed, I tell you, it's not the same as we have in, let's say, 10 or 15 years backward. And several organizations have actually been coming up with that. An example is that of, Madam Crystal mentioned that Clean Aid here. We have MTN as well. We have Sterling Bank. We have several of them. We have, I think there is this organization now, Nivea. We have several of them. And this is because of, uniform collaborations of several INGOs, NGOs, Association of Persons with Disabilities, who have decided to take, quote unquote, the matter on our head to ensure that inclusion is really inclusion, because it's another thing to just say, okay, because the law says 5%, you now just want to drag people in. But the question is, that's why I actually stated at first, what is the attitude? What are the relevant policies in place? What are the HMOs, in place? You can have an HMO for your staff with a disability, but does that HMO actually covers my impairment category? What's the essence of having a health insurance? When I get to the hospital, they tell me that it cannot, have to deal with if I'm having a spinal cord injury and I need to perform, a surgery, and they tell me that my HMO doesn't cover it. That means it's not inclusive. So there are several structures to that. We have organizations, and if you look at it, I'm calling organizations who are even in the private sector. What about the government sectors? Yeah, there are the government sectors, but the question is it really intentional? Because at the end of it all, intentionality is what matters. It's not just about the law is about to catch up on us, 5%. No, it's about when you employ these persons, do you really allow them to fully and actively participate? Are they also included in staff trainings? Are the things that you give persons without disabilities or staff without disabilities, are they also included for persons with disability? Extracurricular activities, work-life balance, work culture, it's a whole lot. But in all, I believe that one step at a time will definitely get there. Well done. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Kemi. Thank you so much. I really love your contribution so far, and I wish we could do something better, especially in our Stories and Voices podcast. We wish we could be one of our hosts, but I believe we'll communicate with you concerning that. Okay. All right. My final questions, though, so that we can wrap up this discussion. I want to know, Ma'am Krista, are you with us? I want to know, what is your vision for an inclusive workforce in Nigeria, and how do you think we can achieve it?
Oh, wow. I think my vision, and that's, it's interesting, my vision is that we would have equitable employment for persons with disabilities, in different sectors in Nigeria. That's my hope of where we get to one day. And honestly, consistently, and that's why I'm excited to see people like Kemi on the call. I'm excited to see Peniel because of the work that we are all doing. But more importantly, the deliberate act of ensuring first that children get access to education. You cannot undermine that at all, because that's when we start talking about employing them at the end of the day, when they have, the right skill. The second thing that we're doing to support that is the Young Persons with Disability initiative that we have, either in our Journey of Change program or our DEEP program that is sponsored by Disability Rights Funds, to ensure that, young people with disabilities are equipped to be employable at the end of the day, and also organizations that are ready to take persons with disability. And I believe that with the consistency, across different organizations doing this, we will definitely get there. And like Kemi said, we are way better from where we began, and it's getting better and better. When we started our Journey of Change program 3 years ago, we could barely get organizations to take persons with disabilities. This last one that we did, we even had organizations that were taking 2 people, 3 people. So that's how much the awareness is getting into organizations, and people are really willing to make it happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Ma'am Krista. Peniel Foundation, do you have something to say about this?
Yes, for us, we envision a world where persons with disabilities have equal access to all sectors of the economy, social, political, and otherwise. So we have programs where we have mentor persons with disabilities. So like Elvis stated, or you have persons with disabilities come for employment opportunities, and then they are not able to give out skills that the company need. So we know that there are already people that have gone past the age of primary education, but there are opportunities now because of this awareness we are creating, because there are people coming out, like Madam Crystal said, that we have children now. So we start from the grassroots. There are children there that they help to get to that point where they are being employable. But what about adults? that don't go through those training. That is where our foundation comes in. We have this mentorship program, which Kemi is an alumni, and we are proud and great to see the good work she does. So with time, we hope that with this input which we're able to give to these adults, they are not left out, and then the coming generation are also able to impact in community building. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Peniel Foundation. Mr. Elvis, do you have one or two to say about this?
Well, for me, I think I will speak now as, let me first speak as Elvis, then I will speak as operations manager and project manager. All right, so for me as Elvis, I think I want to see a world whereby persons with disability, they need to, where they come out of their shell, where they realize that the world is there for them to take, it's there for them to take in, but the world only answers to people that are willing and ready to take it. And I want to see that point whereby a person with disability and another person without disability are both going for the same job with the same mindset that I can get the job. And the person with disability actually gets the job, not because the person is with disability, but because the person is fully qualified and the person knows that they are qualified. Now, for me as an operations manager, and I believe that one thing I would say is this, that I want to see a world whereby organizations are borrowing from what Madam Krista said, where we are looking at the future investment, that disability inclusion is not a charity project, rather is an investment into the building a world where everybody feels included. So I want to see that world. I want to see where organizations like ourselves are actually seeing it as an investment into a building a better world and a better society.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elvis. With all this contribution said so far, I think we have come to the end of this discussion. So, but before I say the final word, Ma'am Kemi, do you have something to say?
Okay, so for me, I envision, a Nigeria or a society where an equitable and sustainable society where persons with disabilities can actively participate and attain leadership roles. Because at the end of it all, it's not just about, us getting into that position and they start saying, okay, because you're a person with disability, come and do cleaning and all that. No, there are other skills, there are other roles that persons with disabilities can also champion. So I envision a place where we are out of our pigeonholes, we become eagles, we fly, we use the stumbling block as a stepping stone to higher success. So, and I see a place where everyone, regardless of gender, disability, age, we all see ourselves as one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kemi. Thank you so much for that. Rabi sent a message too, but Rabi, I would like you to reach out to us on LinkedIn at XFP Production. Just send us a DM or an email.
Okay, send us an email at operations@sfpproductions.com. Send us an email at operations@sfpproductions.com, and we'll definitely pick up the conversation from there. Or you can just send us a message via LinkedIn or on our Instagram handle, any of our social media handle, SFP Productions. We'll definitely pick up the conversation.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Ma'am Krista. Thank you, Ma'am Uche, who led. Thank you so much for the contribution, for the enlightenment and the education. This session has been so impactful. This has been and I wish we don't stop here, that we'll continue, maybe as time permits, we'll continue further in the future, and we also look forward to do other collaborations with you. So as we have seen today, the Disability Act 2018 is a bold step in the right direction
but implementation remains a significant hurdle. So it is up to all of us, the lawmakers, the employers, advocates, and everyday citizens, to ensure that this legislation is not just words on paper, but a force for a real lasting change. You know, there's this comment that say, if you see something, say something. So if you're in a place where a person with disability is being manhandled or mistreated as a result of getting employment, please report to the right bodies, because this is very, very necessary for us. This is very necessary for us. So at XFP Production, we remain committed to amplifying voices and driving conversations that matter. So let's continue to push for a society where every person, regardless of their ability, has equal opportunity to thrive. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to my audience and everyone who made today's discussion possible. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and keep advocating for persons with disability for inclusion. Remember to follow our social media handles at XFP Production. All right, bye for now.